Welcome back to the deep dive. I want to start today by putting you in a very specific headspace.
Okay.
Imagine the courtroom. It's, the climax of basically every legal drama you've ever seen.
Right.
The room is heavy. It's totally silent. A witness walks up to the stand, places a hand on a holy book, and swears an oath. You know the words by heart. The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Oh, yeah. It is the absolute bedrock of the entire justice system. I mean, the assumption is incredibly simple. If you saw it, you could say it.
Right. Exactly. We treat the witness stand like we're plugging in a USB drive. You hit play, and the jury hears exactly what happened, frame for frame.
Mm-hmm.
But looking at the stack of research we are diving into today, I'm getting the distinct impression that our brains aren't exactly 4K cameras.
No, they aren't even reliable sketch artists, honestly. That oath, to tell the truth, relies on a premise that psychology has basically been dismantling for the last 50 years. And today, we are doing a deep dive into eyewitness testimony, or EWT. And our mission here isn't just to say, memory is flawed, we all kind of know that. The mission is to uncover exactly how it gets corrupted.
And we're talking about external corruption here, right? Like we aren't just talking about someone having bad eyesight or it being dark outside when the crime happened. We're talking about how a really specific question from a lawyer or even just a quick chat with a friend can literally rewrite the script in your head without you even knowing it.
Exactly. We are going to look at everything from the classic lab experiments of the 1970s.
The really famous ones.
Right, the ones that literally changed how police work is done, all the way up to brand new research on how smartphones and social media are making the idea of an untainted witness basically a thing of the past.
Okay, so let's unpack this because this matters to literally anyone who has a brain and interacts with other humans. Let's start with the basics. The police arrive at the scene of an accident. They start asking questions. This seems like standard procedure, but you're saying this is actually the first point of failure.
It is often exactly where the original file starts to get corrupted, and it brings us to this concept of leading questions.
Right.
This is the idea that the way you phrase a question holds the power to completely change the answer. And honestly, you just can't talk about this without talking about Loftus and Palmer from 1974.
The car crash study.
Yes.
I feel like this is kind of the patient zero of memory research. Even if you haven't taken a psych class, you've probably heard whispers of this study.
It really is the foundational study. And it's so elegant in its simplicity. Loftus and Palmer basically took participants and showed them a video of a car accident. Just a standard, chaotic clip of cars hitting each other.
Okay.
Afterward, they asked the participants to estimate the speed the cars were going.
Which, seems like a pretty objective question. How fast were they going? I'm guessing people aren't generally great at judging speed anyway, but that's not really the point of the study, is it?
No, not at all. The point wasn't accuracy, it was manipulability. They didn't just ask how fast the cars were going, they split the people into different groups and they changed the verb in the question.
Just the verb.
Just the verb. So one group was asked about how fast were the cars going when they contacted each other.
Contact. Okay, that sounds really gentle.
Right.
That sounds like a bumper car nudge at the county fair. Like, excuse me, I've contacted your vehicle.
Right, it's very polite. But another group was asked about how fast were the cars going when they smashed into each other.
See, smashed is aggressive. I'm immediately picturing glass flying everywhere, metal crunching, airbags deploying. It feels violent.
And that imagery completely changed the data. The group that heard the word smashed estimated the mean speed at 40.5 miles per hour.
Okay, 40.5.
But the group that heard contacted, their mean estimate was 31.8 miles per hour.
Wait, that is nearly a 10-mile-per-hour difference.
Just from changing one single verb.
That is huge. In a real court case, 10 miles per hour is the difference between reckless driving and just an unfortunate accident.
Absolutely.
It's the difference between getting a ticket and actually going to jail.
Precisely. And they tested a whole gradient of words to prove it wasn't just a fluke. The word collided got an average of 39.3 miles per hour. Bumped got 38.1. Hit was 34.0.
Wow.
It proved that the question itself was actually supplying information to the witness. It signaled to the brain, hey, the researcher used the word smashed, so this must have been a really violent crash. And then the brain retroactively adjusted the memory to fit that description.
So Loftus was arguing that the memory isn't just being accessed, it's being altered in real time.
Yes. And this is what makes it so incredibly dangerous. Loftus actually wrote a follow-up in 1975, arguing that this has massive implications for real police work. Well, think about a police officer asking, did you see the broken headlight? Versus asking, did you see a broken headlight? They are subtly planting a flag in your memory map.
Oh, that is such a subtle linguistic trick.
Isn't it?
Saying the broken headlight implies there definitely was one, and if I didn't see it, I just missed it.
Mhm.
But a broken headlight is just asking if one existed at all.
Exactly. And if I ask you about the broken headlight, you are statistically much more likely to report seeing one, even if there wasn't one there at all.
That's wild.
This is exactly why psychologists are now standard features in courtrooms. They have to explain to juries that a witness's confidence does not equal accuracy. A witness can be 100% sure they saw something just because a police officer inadvertently told them they did 3 months ago.
But I have to play devil's advocate here for a second, and this is where it gets really interesting for me. Is the memory actually changed, or are people just being compliant? Like, if a guy in a white lab coat with a clipboard asks me a question, I'm probably just going to guess whatever I think he wants here so I can go home.
That is the major friction point in the research. Are we looking at a rewritten hard drive or just a really polite user?
Right. Am I actually misremembering, or am I just being nice?
This brings us perfectly to the concept of demand characteristics. Zaragoza and McCloskey really highlighted this back in 1989. They basically argued that in a lot of these lab studies, participants are just trying to be good subjects.
The good subject effect. I love that term. It's like, I didn't really see how fast the car was going, but this nice scientist used the word smashed, so I better give him a high number so I don't look stupid.
Exactly. It's social compliance. It's not necessarily memory failure. If you ask a question about a detail the witness didn't encode.
Something they didn't actually see.
Right. They don't want to just say, I don't know, it feels unhelpful. So they use the phrasing of the question as a clue to deduce the right answer.
That's tricky, because if that's true, then the memory might still be totally intact underneath all that compliance. We're just layering a lie or a guess on top of it to be helpful.
Well, Sutherland and Hain tried to dip into this in 2001. They wanted to see if the whole memory gets overwritten or just parts of it. They essentially wanted to know if the original file was deleted or just corrupted at the edges.
So is my hard drive totally wiped, or just a few files?
Not entirely wiped. They found a really fascinating distinction between what they called central details and peripheral details.
Okay, define that for me. What counts as a central detail?
Central details are the core action, the gun, the car crash itself, the actual punch being thrown. Peripheral details are the background stuff.
Like what?
The color of the bystander's jacket, the sign on the wall behind them, the weather that day. Sutherland and Hain found that leading questions were very effective at distorting those peripheral details.
The background noise.
Right, but the central details, those remained remarkably accurate, even when leading questions really tried to nudge them.
Okay, that is actually reassuring. So if I witness a bank robbery, I might let a lawyer confuse me about what shoes the robber was wearing, or if the getaway car had a weird bumper sticker.
But you will likely remain rock solid on the fact that he was holding a shotgun and wearing a mask.
Okay, so we aren't totally hopeless.
Mm.
The core event stays with us, but the edges get fuzzy.
The edges are exactly where the danger lies, though, because very often legal cases turn on those exact edges.
Right, of course.
Was he wearing a red hat or a blue hat? That might be the one thing that identifies a suspect. But you're right, the core memory does seem resilient to questions. But, and here's the really big pivot, what about when the misleading information doesn't come from a question? What if it comes from another person?
You mean from other witnesses, not the police?
Yes. We have to move out of the lab setting and into the real world. When a crime happens or a car crash, you are very rarely alone. You're usually standing on the sidewalk next to someone else. And what is the very first thing you do when the dust settles?
You turn to the person next to you and say, "Did you see that?"
Naturally, you want to compare notes. You say, he went that way, right? Or, did you catch the license plate?
And that interaction is called post-event discussion, or PED. And according to the research you brought, this is where things get really messy.
Messier than the police asking leading questions.
Really, that's what I want to ask you. Is my neighbor more dangerous to my memory than a trained lawyer?
Their research suggests yes. We have this great study here by Patterson and Kemp from 2006. They basically wanted to see what corrupts a memory faster, misleading reports in the media or talking to a co-witness.
Oh, that's an interesting matchup. Fake news versus gossip.
And gossip won by an absolute landslide. They found that discussing the event with another person, engaging in PED, had a significantly stronger influence on memory than reading false information in the news.
What do you think that is? I would have just assumed a news report feels more official. Like, If I see it on the evening news, I assume they fact-checked it.
It's highly likely about social proximity and validation. If I read something in the paper that totally contradicts what I saw, I can just dismiss it. I can say, oh, the reporter got it wrong. I can distance myself from it.
Good.
But if you were standing right next to me,
Right.
and we just watched the exact same thing happen, and you turn to me and say, I saw the blue car run the red light, and I thought it was green.
I start to doubt my own eyes. I think maybe I blink, maybe I looked away for a split second
Yeah.
because he was standing right there with me.
Exactly. It creates this sort of consensus reality. We have a very strong social drive to align with our tribe. Patterson and Kemp suggest that hearing another person's version of events is the single most powerful form of misleading information out there. It overrides your own senses.
But does it matter who that other person is? Like if I'm talking to just some random bystander versus, say, someone who really looks like they know what they're doing.
That is the crucial nuance here. We don't just blindly copy everyone we talk to. We evaluate the source. Skagerberg and Wright did this massive study in 2009. They had nearly 800 participants.
Wow, that's a big sample.
It is. They showed them a crime video and then introduced a co-witness who gave them bad information.
And who was the co-witness?
That was the key variable. For half the group, the co-witness was high credibility. Someone presented as an authority figure, basically implying they were a police officer or someone with real expertise. For the other half, the co-witness was low credibility, like a child or someone who admitted right off the bat that they had poor eyesight.
I think I can guess the result of this one. We trust the badge.
Significantly more. The distortion of memory was so much higher when the misinformation came from the high credibility source.
That's pretty frightening. Because in the total chaos of an accident, if an off-duty police officer or even just a really confident security guard says he ran past the shop, everyone's memory might suddenly align with that, even if it's dead wrong.
It creates a feedback loop. The witness actually thinks they remember it happening, but they're really just remembering the authority figure's statement. They take that external statement and incorporate it straight into their own internal movie. This is exactly why the Skagerberg findings suggest that police need to be recording not just what a witness says, but who they've been talking to before the interview even starts.
Because the witness is basically contaminated.
Right.
And we need to know the exact source of the contamination.
Exactly.
Now, usually, the police have a protocol for this, right? I watch enough true crime to know the witnesses rule. You stand here, you stand over there.
Yes, witness separation. It's totally standard practice. It's codified in official guidelines, like those from the UK College of Policing. You put one person in one squad car, and you put one in another. You cut the line of communication so the infection can't spread.
Simple. Effective. It stops the PED right in its tracks.
It was effective until about 2007.
The iPhone.
The smartphone. This brings us to a really crucial modern paper by Eisem et al. From 2020. They argue that in the digital age, physical separation is basically just theater. It doesn't work anymore.
Because even if you stick me in the back of a locked squad car, unless you physically take my phone away, I'm online.
Exactly. You're sitting there, you open up X or Twitter, you start checking the local hashtag for the accident, you're texting your friend who happens to be sitting in the other squad car across the street.
Hey, do you tell them about the guy in the red hat?
Right. Eisem points out that witnesses now conduct their own private investigations before they ever even get to a courtroom. They look up the suspect on Facebook, they watch bystander videos from different angles on TikTok, they read comments from 50 other people who claim they were there.
That is just wild to think about. So by the time they actually take the stand and swear the oaths, their memory isn't even their own anymore. It's this massive mashup of what they physically saw, what they read, what they texted, and what hundreds of people on the internet think happened.
It makes controlling post-event discussion nearly impossible. Eisen actually argues that the clean witness is an endangered species. You just can't sequester information anymore. The walls of the jury room and the witness waiting room have become completely porous.
That sounds incredibly bleak for the justice system. I mean, if every single witness is basically corrupted by the time they swear the oath, how do we ever get a fair trial? Should we just throw out eyewitness testimony altogether?
Well, don't lose all hope just yet. Psychology identifies the problems, sure, but it also tries to find solutions. And there is a real silver lining in the research. It comes from Bodner et al. From 2009. They looked at whether we can actually undo some of this damage.
A Citral Z for human memory.
Sort of, yeah. They found that the effects of post-event discussion can be significantly reduced if you just warn people.
Just tell them. Like,
Right.
hey, don't listen to your friend. That sounds way too simple to actually work.
It sounds simple, but it's remarkably powerful. When researchers explicitly warned participants that the information they heard from a co-witness was hearsay, that it was secondhand, and that they should stick strictly to what they personally saw with their own eyes, their recall accuracy improved dramatically.
That's fascinating. It really implies that the original memory isn't actually gone. It's just buried under all the social pressure.
Exactly. It suggests that memory conformity, this whole idea that we automatically blend our memories with other people, is often just a choice. It's an unconscious decision to go with the group. But if you give the brain permission or give it a really specific instruction to filter out the noise and just focus on the source data, it can actually do it.
And that connects right back to the Sutherland and Haynes study, too.
Yeah.
The core memory is resilient. We just need to be explicitly reminded to trust it over all the other voices.
Yes. We aren't suffering from permanent brain damage every time we talk to someone. We are just socially conditioned to agree with them. Breaking that conditioning is possible, but it requires an active intervention. The police basically need to sit you down and say, look, you've probably seen stuff on Twitter today. I need you to ignore it. Just tell me what you saw.
So, if we zoom out for a second, what is the big takeaway here? We've gone from smashed cars in 1974 to authoritative policemen, all the way to modern Twitter detectives.
The main takeaway is that memory is a reconstruction. It is not a playback. It's a creative act. But it's a reconstruction that we can protect as long as we understand the mechanics of how it gets built.
For you listening, it really sounds like a healthy dose of skepticism is key. Not just skepticism of what other people tell you, but of your own absolute certainty. When you're telling a story about something that happened 10 years ago, maybe go back and check the photos.
Absolutely. And for the legal system, it means procedure is everything. How you ask the initial question matters. Who the witness talked to matters. And acknowledging that in 2026, no witness comes to court without having Googled the crime first.
It really makes you wonder about the whole future of the jury trial. We started today with that solemn oath. The truth, the whole truth. But in a world where every potential witness has access to a global database of opinions and videos and theories before the yellow police tape is even up.
It's a very valid fear. The truth is rapidly becoming a collaborative project.
Here's a thought I really want to leave you with today. If the untainted witness is dead, killed by the smartphone in our pockets, does the justice system need to stop relying on human memory entirely? Or do we just need to get a whole lot better at warning people that their own brain is playing tricks on them?
That really is the billion-dollar question. Can we actually train ourselves to separate the signal from all that noise?
Definitely something to chew on the next time you're recounting a story to a friend and they say, no, that's not how it happened at all. Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you next time.